Good Wednesday morning. Thanks for making us part of your morning. Amy Jacobson here. Bruce Wolf sitting in for Dan Proft this week, and some surprises next year, too. You'll be sitting in as well. Glad to have you back. And real quickly, I just wanted to congratulate Congresswoman Martha McSally. She has now been appointed to fill the seat of outgoing Senator John Kyle, who filled the seat for John McCain. The announcement was made yesterday by Arizona Governor Doug Ducey that she is going to have the position for the next 2 years. And of course, she was in that contentious race with Democratic Rep. Kristen Sinema. Have you seen her?
Yes.
The very varying hair
heathen?
colors. No,
she's
she's
a heathen, isn't
the
she?
first openly bisexual member of the U.S. Senate. Non-religious, doesn't believe in God, never has. And she's not even a Democrat. She's an independent. But her first line of business,
she's not both a Democrat and a Republican? I thought you said she was bicameral. Okay.
Bisexual. We don't know what gender she's with at this point.
Is she in the House of Representatives and the Senate as well?
Well, she was a congresswoman. She's filling that position out, and then she's going to be a senator starting in January.
Well, there we go.
But congratulations
she's bifurcated.
To Colonel Martha McSally. At least there's some sanity there in Arizona, and I'm glad that the governor pointed that to him. Speaking of Washington, could we possibly have a...
It's a government shutdown.
I love that. There was some progress made overnight, don't you know? The Senate GOP is drafting a stopgap spending bill that will fund the government until February. Did your eyes just glaze over, Bruce?
Well,
are you into this?
It's not going to be a continuing resolution. We're going to have a deal on Friday. We're going to have a
working
border
on.
wall.
Well, yesterday the Republicans offered $1.6 billion for border fencing, and the Democrats rejected even that.
But you know that even Sack of Durbin, as I like to call him,
yes,
he said that he would be in favor of a quote-unquote physical barrier, but he just won't say the word wall, the four-letter word wall.
A physical. I know. Why are they
barrier.
hung up on
Because it's Trump.
that?
Because it's giving Trump the symbolic victory.
So is it there? Yeah. Is the money there?
We'll see what happens. Too early to say. Sorry. Thank you.
He said it's too early to.
It's too early to say.
But there was talk, though, yesterday of that President Trump and Sarah Sanders, officials in the White House, has asked every agency to find money in their departments to fund the wall so that taxpayers do not have to pay for
President
it.
Obama
we have
did that.
other ways that we can get to that $5 billion that we will work with Congress.
I'm sorry. President Obama did the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They found money elsewhere.
They did, and that's what hopefully they're going to try to do to end this. Let's get the latest, and welcome back to the program. It has been a while. Rachel Sutherland from Fox News Radio in Washington, D.C. Good morning, Rachel. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. So what is the latest on the possible government shutdown?
Well, they are working on this and negotiating back and forth on border wall funding. We have until December 21st at 11:59:59, and the government could partially shut down, but this would just be a partial shutdown.
Right. So it would affect how many employees? They're saying 400,000?
Approximately. And what would happen is you would see essential personnel go to work. The main issue here, of course, we know is border wall funding, and the president saying that it looks like from what we've seen from the president from the White House, he's willing to negotiate. The question is, will the House and Senate be able to get something together in time? But yeah, essential personnel would have to report. So those TSA agents, they would still be on the job at the airports. So you're going somewhere for Christmas, no worries there. They'd still be there. They just wouldn't necessarily get paid until all of this is over. We do know that they are working on it. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he's seeming kind of mystified as to why House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi would want to wrestle with government funding issues, right at this moment. And he believes that the incoming Speaker Pelosi doesn't really have much room to make a deal at this point. But really, this is the president's last-ditch effort to be able to get this money. He wants the $5 billion for a down payment on the border wall. And with Democrats taking control of the House come January, they're not going to be in the mood to deal.
Well, he doesn't need $5 billion to get something going, right? I mean,
no,
something less than
all.
that. Yeah, and it's interesting. Everybody's working during the shutdown, or a lot of people are. So a shutdown really isn't a shutdown. Treason isn't really treason. Words are such strange things.
Aren't they? Yeah. Well, it's possible. We're hearing from my senior Capitol Hill producer over there, Chad Pergram, saying it's possible the Senate could try to get some kind of interim spending bill. You've heard of them. They're called continuing resolutions. And that's as soon as today, and that would fund the remaining bills that are outstanding through February 8th. So that would kick it into the new year. But again, at this point, remember, we would have divided government, and it becomes even more difficult to make a deal. The only exception would be if the president were to come back to Democrat and say, we really have a fix for these illegal immigrants who were brought here by the parent, through no fault of their own, so-called dreamers. That could happen. But again, I mean, the clock is ticking. And we had a government shutdown earlier in the year, January 20th. It lasted 3 days over a lot of the same kinds of issues, and they were able to come together and at least say, okay, we're going to work on these issues.
But that's
forward.
The one that the Democrats wound up getting blamed for, right? I'm trying to
Absolutely,
remember.
yeah.
I'm trying to remember my shutdowns here. And here's
what shutdown are you on, Bruce?
Well, here, back
you're a little bit older
back
than
in
me.
14, I think, at the end of the year. It always happens. But I just was a little bit concerned. Everybody talks about the political fallout of a shutdown. You're going to blame the Republicans for it. But there's not another election for 2 years. Am I missing something here?
No, you're not. And that's the reason why I think that the possibility of a shutdown is real, because this is a lame duck Congress. Some of them are packing up and going home. The big heavy hitters, the big players like House Speaker Paul Ryan, Senator Jeff Flake, Bob Corker, Congressman Trey Gowdy, Darrell Issa, these big names that you hear about that usually try to get stuff done, they're cleaning out their offices. They're not. They didn't run for re-election, so that makes a big difference too. They don't have a dog in this fight. They're just going home. So that, coupled with the fact that this is a lame duck, I think that a shutdown's possible. There was also, by the way, another shutdown in February of last year that happened while people were sleeping that lasted about 9 hours. And then the president signed a longer-term bill, but he did it holding his nose. He was not happy about it. But here we are. It is now, 3 days away. Yeah. I'm imagining they may shut down the government briefly, a partial shutdown, and then somehow come up with a Christmas miracle like on New Year's Eve.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they're off. All the workers are off because even Trump, the Grinch, as I understand it,
he's going on a 16-day.
But he lets everybody off on Monday. It's a tradition, and he had to do it. So they're not even working on Monday anyway.
Well, all right, let's move on to General Flynn's sentencing hearing and how it was delayed. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but what could he have done differently, he and his attorneys? Because I felt like the prosecutors were even trying to throw him a lifeline in front of the judge.
It really, they were. It was so fascinating to watch because usually when a plea situation happens, you go in for a sentencing, it's all done. I mean, the papers are signed, everybody's on the same page, and we all were watching the producers sending, emails back out, dribbling and drabbing. First of all, it started late, and then it seemed to start kind of like in a normal fashion with Judge Sullivan asking Michael Flynn, did he understand what he was doing and so on. And then it took a turn, and the judge excoriated Michael Flynn for lying to the FBI about his contacts with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak during that interview in January 2017. At one point turned to the prosecutors and asked if he could be charged with treason, and then suggested to Flynn that he may not leave there without incarceration. So at that point, they took a recess.
Wow.
Everybody went to their corner.
Yeah. Do you think the judge was unprepared or vindictive, or was he trying to make a name for himself?
All of the above.
That is a very good question.
Everything.
I can't speak to the judge's motives, except I just, as a journalist looking at it, saying, okay, generally these things are worked out. Michael Flynn walked in there thinking he was going to get probation. There was no reason to doubt that. The special counsel even suggested no jail time. And then the judge kind of just went rogue. His reasoning for that, I don't know if he had additional information that we don't have, but he gave them, I believe, 90 days to come back to the table and with a status update. And this is not over for Michael Flynn. He has to surrender his passport. He can't travel outside the Washington area more than, I believe, 50 miles. It was a no good, very bad day for Michael Flynn.
And he has to watch a driver's education movie from now until March.
And he has to watch Bambi.
Yeah, Bambi.
And he can't go hunting.
Here's the thing. If I'm the judge, I'm a federal judge. I'm a big deal. I'm watching all these pundits, like who's the guy with the Count Dracula hair slicked back?
And Judge Napolitano.
Hey. I'm watching Judge
Oh,
Janine.
yeah,
I'm watching
Judge
Judge
Napolitano.
Judge Janine with the cute dimple and talking like this, and I should be on the Supreme Court. I'm watching all these judges all over the place. I'm the federal judge, and I've got a memo that came in here from Flynn's attorney saying, there's prosecutorial misconduct. Well, I'm the judge who's known for nailing the prosecutors. So you want to nail the prosecutor, Judge General Flynn, who saved us from the Al Qaeda? Okay, roll the dice right here with me. Maybe I'll give you some time, zero time, and award you damages or something like that. So he wants. But then the judge goofed up too because he thought he was still a foreign agent, and he wasn't. Oops, Judge Emily Latella. So,
Well, Rachel, what does this all mean for President Trump?
At this point, I don't think this means much. The whole Michael Flynn situation doesn't mean a whole lot right now. We'll have to see how it develops. Had he just gotten probation and just walked away, I think it would have been better for the president, but I don't necessarily think this is a horrible development either. I think it just needs to play out. Everyone's just grown very weary of this special counsel investigation. I think both sides are kind of just feeling beaten down by it.
It's exhausting. Oh my God.
It truly is. It's been going on for about 19 months. And keep in mind, when Michael Flynn was interviewed in January 2017, there was no official Russia probe. Mueller hadn't even been appointed until the following May. So
it wasn't
the White
until
House
May.
saying he was entrapped.
It wasn't until May that they really, turned the screws on Michael Flynn. So, because Comey, even in, was it December of 16, said we should drop this whole thing regarding Flynn. So, it's really murky. Maybe stuff will come out in the next 3 months. Rachel, as long as we have you here, I mean, I saw yesterday on Special Report, Brett Baer was interviewing Senator Scott about this criminal justice reform bill, but they really didn't get into the specifics on why this is going to lower recidivism. And do you have any idea what's involved in this program? And Trump signs it. I mean, it sounds like a liberal to me. Trump, he should be embraced by the Democratic Party. It did pass the Senate yesterday.
Cory Booker loves it. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So what's in the bill there that's going to remedy things? Because you had hardliners like Senator Cotton saying, no, you really shouldn't allow, all the things that are being allowed in this bill. What's in it?
Well, I know that it gives discretion to more judges. Judges had been under this, mandatory sentencing, so that would change some of that. It's also supposed to boost rehab efforts in prisons to stop that recidivism, as you mentioned. The House is expected to pass it. The president is expected to sign it. It's got bipartisan. And I was thinking the same thing. This doesn't sound like a Republican proposal, but President Trump is not your, cookie-cutter Republican. We know that.
All right. Rachel Sutherland, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. It's always great to have you on the program. We appreciate it. And she joined us on our turnkey. She appreciated it too, but she had to
You're
go.
welcome. That's my best Rachel. So, did you notice she mentioned her producer, this Chad Pegram, I think, or something?
Yeah.
He's occasionally on Fox News, and he doesn't look like a TV guy, but they go to him because he knows everything.
Yeah.
He's like really the straw that stirs the drink
That's
there. At
good.
Fox. He knows every single thing that's going on.
It's a great team. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.